Welcome to the application section for the Ivey AEO HBA program. All right, this is what you have been waiting for, nailing the extracurricular essays. This is a huge component of the application, and we're going to go through a whole bunch of different examples, tools, and resources that we have created to help guide you through this part of the process. The key element of this presentation is how do I write 2 strong extracurricular essays, and we're going to go through all of the different examples. I strongly recommend watching the entire video, maybe even watch it more than once. Pause it if you need to take breaks or you want to take extra notes. Look at a resource, but come back to it because this will give you a lot of the tips and the tools that you need to create 2 really strong essays for your application. So in this video, we are going to talk about your top 2 activities and the specific criteria that you need in order to submit these top 2 activities, the format and this component of the application, your essay template, the examples, as well as I'm going to briefly touch on something that's new, the pandemic impact section. And within the pandemic impact section, we have a separate video that we've created that you can watch later on in this bootcamp to get some more details, but I just want to introduce the concept to you here. All right, so looking at your top 2 extracurricular activities. So, as I mentioned, super important component of the application process. If we're looking at the overall impact of your application, these top 2 activities are very high, okay? Every element contributes to the application, but this is where Ivey is going to learn the most about you, your background, your experiences, and what sort of things you as a student and as a leader could bring into the program. Now, the essay criteria, again, this is all taken directly from the application, so you can read it there as well, but they want to see your top 2 activities. It's important here to consider all of the different activities that you've done, so whether that's in the community, clubs, work experience, athletics, entrepreneurial ventures, right? Paid and unpaid work experience. Consider everything that you've done, and you're going to pick out your top 2 activities from that. The other activities you can include in the additional activity section, which you can watch in a separate video here. For each of your activities, you're going to have to write a 500-word essay. So it'll be 1,000 words in total, but you're writing 2 500-word essays focusing on the activity. The activity must have taken place within the last 4 years, so within your typical high school years. And this is required to submit the application. So you cannot actually hit submit unless you complete these 2 sections of the application. So it's required, you need to do it. Now we've already talked about this in one of our earlier boot camps, but it doesn't hurt to bring it up again. When Ivey is looking at students' applications, they're looking for demonstration in all 4 of these areas. So they want to see your initiative, your teamwork, your commitment, and your achievement. These 4 boxes should be in your mind when you're looking at your activities and thinking about which ones you want to choose as your top 2 and how can you speak to each of those 4 areas within your actual application. Now we've broken it down for you in the examples as well, but keep this in mind. Maybe even you want to print off or write on sticky notes, initiative, teamwork, commitment, and achievement. Have it above your workstation when you're working on your essays or working on your application, so you can always be thinking about how what you do contributes to those areas. All right, so looking at the application format and template. So there is a template that you can use to help, again, consolidate your activities, write down all of the necessary information that will literally go directly into the application. So it'll help you stay organized. All you'll have to do is copy and paste once it's ready to go. When it comes to the template, please be sure to make a copy of the document. Do not type in directly your information in there. The link that's available below is available to lots of other people, and we want them to be able to access the template. So make a copy, save it for yourself, and then you can start to complete that information. Another template, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit as well, is the general activity essay template. So again, make a copy of this and you can start to brainstorm, create bullet points, answer some of the questions that are listed there as you start to formulate what you want to write about in your overall essays. So 2 different templates, both of them linked below for you to be able to access. So let's talk about the essay template first. And for this, we're going to switch it up a bit. We're going to go straight to the template. There we go. You'll make a copy of this and you'll have the opportunity to read through all of the different questions. And we've given you even like an approximate word count here. So it's 500 words overall for each essay. So again, 1,000 in total, but they're 2 separate essays, 500 words each. So for each of the different sections of the essay, we've given you an approximate word count just to give you an idea of how much you should actually include here. Now, a common question I often receive from students is like, what if I go over 500? What if I go under 500? They've given you 500 words, so utilize it clearly and effectively. If you're well under 500 words, then I would consider looking at it again and get as close to the 500 as you can. If you are over 500 words, you got to pare it down. Like Ivy, the admissions team is super kind. Like if you have 502 words, they're not going to penalize your application, right? But you want to stay in and around that because you want to be able to show them that you can communicate clearly and effectively the point that you're trying to provide. This is your key opportunity to show why you want to go to Ivy and why you should be in Ivy. So stay in and around that 500 words. So the first one is the hook. So you want to be able to capture the attention of the person, give them a preview of what's to come, mention the role, the organization, maybe if you had a particular role in that. Please do not put a quote. Oh, do not put a quote. No, no, no. That may fly for some of the essays in your high school, but do not put a quote here, especially if you're just putting a quote to put a quote and not relating it to the rest of the overall activity. Again, you have 500 words. Use this space, use these words wisely to showcase what you want Ivy to know about you. The second component is the context. So the when and the why you became involved in this activity. Is there a story behind it? What is the story behind it? What is your role and responsibility? How much time, weekly, monthly, yearly, have you committed to this activity or this work experience? In here as well, really important to provide the details about what the activity was. So I know for a lot of school activities, they have acronyms. Someone who works at Ivy and is reading your application doesn't necessarily know what that acronym means, right? So for example, if you were a member of like the LEAP program, this is one I remember reading a lot. The LEAP program. I don't know what LEAP stands for, so put it in brackets, right? You can use the acronym later on, but be sure to provide those details. Assume that you are telling this to someone whom you've just met, right? That doesn't know anything about you, doesn't know a lot about your background, right? You're explaining this to people that don't know you, don't know your school or the activities, so be really detailed there. The catalyst. So what happened during your time in the activity that sparked you to want to take on some sort of new special impact, change, maybe even a leadership role? What did you seek to do as a leader in this role? Either taking initiative, there's that word again, starting something, changing some things, and what sort of steps did you take to create that sort of change, right? So what was the impetus that really set you in motion? The outcome. So outcome, looking at teamwork specifically. So who did you work with on this activity to create an impact or change? Was it other students? Was it your boss? Was it a teacher? Was it students from a different school, right? Like team members. All of these people, how were they involved to showcase your leadership and your teamwork? How did you work with other people? Be really specific. Did you face any challenges, success, or learnings from this team, group, or even the experience? Now, something to note here is a lot of students often use we, right? Like we as a group did this and we as a group did that. In this case, be really specific about what you did. Because if you say, we ran a bake sale and raised $1,000, as someone reading the application, I wouldn't know if you were leading the bake sale or you were just kind of there. Maybe you showed up for 5 minutes and then you left, right? So if you were actively involved in something, use I statements, right? Using we absolutely shows teamwork, but if it's all we, then it's really hard to tell what you've actually done and contributed to that activity. Right. Same goes for your resume. Do that on your resume too, if you're looking to update that. Outcome in terms of impact. So what was the impact on other people? What sort of changes did you make through the activity, right? Maybe you raised money. Maybe you raised awareness. Maybe you changed a process in your school. What did you accomplish or achieve with the work that you put in? Again, be as specific as possible. Use numbers, testimonials, any form of credibility is important here. So quantify your experience. Use numbers. Even when we were going through the process of creating this example, again and again, more numbers, more experiences, more specific examples. This is something that you'll see when I show you the example component, right? But it's really important to quantify your experiences, again, because it just showcases in a more specific way what you actually did in that activity. And another good thing to put on your resume, quantify your experiences. There you go. All right, so outcome for learning. So what did you learn as a leader from this experience? And only focus on one learning. Don't make it super basic, but really like how will you use this learning in the future going forward? How do you hope to connect this to future activities, maybe in university? And then you're also going to close out your essay from there, right? So you want to be able to show that from this experience, that you're humble, right? That you've learned something from it, you've been able to take that on, and how that might impact you or influence you as a leader, as a student in the future. So those are all the sections of the template. Again, make a copy of this and you'll be able to start making some bullet points, some rough notes, in particular to what you want to include in your talk too. Now, let's go to an example. I'm going to read through one of these examples. We do have 3 different experiences that are available for you to read through. These are not to copy. If I hear that any of you have copied and pasted this into your application, I'm going to be very upset. These are just examples, right, to showcase how you would implement those different questions, that thought process into your overall application. So we are going to use the example here of the student that started the entrepreneurial venture. And again, there's 2 more in the links below. So I'll just read through, not each of the different sections, but specifically what the student has written for like the hook, the context, etc. So we live in a digital age where our valuable information is constantly threatened. To help mitigate the risk, I began a cybersecurity entrepreneurial venture for small businesses and private individuals in my community. My parents immigrated to Canada in 1998, determined to make a better life for me and my siblings. Seeing my father's struggles and victories, starting his construction company inspired me to apply my knowledge to computer security to gain leadership and business management experiences. One thing that I learned quickly was that my prospective clients knew very little about how their information was protected. At first, I was met with a lot of hesitation, and many told me that my services would not be useful. This got me thinking about how I could educate them about the importance of establishing an effective security program and make it easier for them to do so. I created 5 online videos about how hackers break into computers and steal confidential data. Soon I received over 30 responses from people wanting to know what they could do to protect their devices. After 2 months, 5 small businesses sought out my consulting services. I began to find it challenging to keep up with the demand, so I hired and trained 2 part-time consultants. I was nervous at first to do this because I didn't know if this venture would continue to be successful, since I had received so much pushback in the beginning. In the end, hiring them was the best thing I could have done because it helped me expand my company's reach to 2 more towns and take on 15 more clients. It also taught me valuable lessons in leadership, teamwork, and adapting to expansion and change. Since starting this venture, I have served approximately 20 small business clients, which has allowed me to generate about $5,250 in sales. At the rate we are going, I believe we can double that by next year. Seeing the positive feedback of the clients I've helped has inspired me more to continue to grow this venture in the future, and many have told me that they feel more secure after I work with them. I plan to create a service that is tailored to students and young adults to help them protect their information from being shared on platforms such as social media. One of the greatest lessons I have learned during this experience is how to provide and receive constructive feedback, while also maintaining my authority as a leader and service provider. The pushback at the beginning showed me how to adapt to what my clients wanted and didn't want, and it gave me the insight about how to effective ways to talk about the value of my business and market services. Overall, I'm grateful for this experience because it allowed me to develop my passion for business management and helped shape the person I am today. All right. So throughout this example, right, you can see what was the catalyst, right, hooking us in. What motivated the person to become an entrepreneur? This person was inspired by their father who had a construction company, right? They went through some challenges, saw some adversity, but were able to commit and overcome. They were able to work with other people to help develop their program, especially in this teamwork, outcome teamwork and outcome impact section. You probably heard me speak the quantifiable elements of the essay a little bit louder, right? So they received 30 responses, hired 2 people, had 15 clients, worked with 5 small businesses, right? All of these numbers just proving the validity and the security of your point, right? And really showing what you were able to do in that area. Being able to wrap up the learnings in a nice way and connecting it, in this case, back to business. Not a requirement to do, but this student was able to do so in a very fluid way. Now, the other 2 essay examples, I'm not going to read through them for you, but I just want to highlight them. So the other one is creating a new club or event. So that is related to a club or event that a student created both within the community and at their school. And then our last example as well is a tutoring business that a student was able to start within their school. So you can see 3 different areas: entrepreneurial, more community volunteer organization, and tutoring. So again, the top examples, they do not need to be business related. It's more about picking your more specific examples, right? The best examples that are going to showcase who you are. So I always love to tell this story. There was a student that I worked with whom had put DECA and junior achievement as their top 2 examples. And I remember working with them before the application was due, and I asked why they put DECA and junior achievement as their top examples when they were the vice president of a club at their school. And this student responded saying that, oh, well, it has to be businessy, so DECA and junior achievement are good ones to put up there. But they didn't really showcase what this student was capable of or what they achieved. They were the vice president of their student knitting club. They created a knitting club, they got members, they did a lot of community events. That event, although about knitting and nothing about business, showed so much more about their leadership, their commitment, their teamwork, as well as their overall impact as a leader than their DECA or their junior achievement. Okay, so again, something I really want to stress in this: pick the best activities, right? Like if you were a camp counselor and that shows all of the areas, then put down that you were a camp counselor, right? Like a lifeguard, if you're working at a store, was really impactful and showed those more than a business activity, pick that as your top 2. Ivey is not just looking for students that are business minded. That's why you don't start the program until the 3rd year of your university, right? They want students who come from different subjects, have different interests, different perspectives, life experiences that they can bring into the class, and they'll teach you the business elements that you need to learn in that 3rd and 4th year. All right, I hope that was very, very clear. And again, these examples are available for you right in the application, so I strongly recommend taking a look at those as well. As always, if you want some additional support from us, you're more than welcome to get in contact with us. There's still some opportunities to get involved in the essential or the premium package. Spots are limited, so the earlier you can sign up, the earlier you'll be able to guarantee your spot in one of those particular packages. Now, I did also mention that we talk about the pandemic impact section. So this is a new section of the application that we've created a whole set of videos for you as well. So you'll be able to take a look at that video. The pandemic impact section will be included at the bottom of your top 2 activities. So it won't be for your additional activities or your awards, just your top 2 activities. Please be sure to read this because we've created a template and some examples for you to think about if there is an impact from the pandemic on the activity that you've selected. Thanks so much for watching this entire video. Remember, the resources are just below, and we'll see you in the next section.